So with that, I have to wrap up the conference, and I have the distinct pleasure of introducing Kate Nolan Bryden, who's Senior VP with MRP Industrial, a truly great friend to NAIOP. For some brief closing thoughts, some of you may know that Kate serves on our NAIOP Executive Committee as Vice Chair of Education. So I want to thank her and her committee for helping us put this content together in a very short order, and she's very, very generous of her volunteer time. Often as we come away from a conference, there could be a sense of overload, like drinking from a fire hose, as we try to process and take in all the information and insights we heard over the past several days. Kate's going to help us distill some of the most critical takeaways from the I.CON Virtual this year. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Kate. Kate?
Thanks, Tom. So as Tom said, I'm just going to give you the highlights of what we heard over the past few days. But before I do, I just wanted to remind you that all of this information and a lot of the really great content that we heard from speakers is available essentially right now and immediately after our program at blog.naiop.org. It's an amazing blog. I myself have been called out of sessions I was really invested in due to work calls and things like that, and I was able to catch up on the blog and really loved that. And just as a snapshot on how this virtual conference compared to our in-person offerings, which is often the place to be, especially Jersey City and Huntington Beach. These are hotbeds of industrial. We had 1,100 attendees in our virtual platform, over 75% of which were online at any given time. So your colleagues were most likely online at several of these sessions, and if they aren't or weren't, you're going to want to bring them up to date with those blog posts. So we heard about demand, building trends, capital markets, opportunities. The punchline is that industrial has been, and is going to continue to be more resilient than other product types. And I think we can feel good about that. There was a lot of great news shared over the past couple days, some challenges as well, but I think one of the major notes was that there's been a shift, as all of us have probably seen personally, to e-commerce. There was an original stat from CBRE that they expected 30% of all sales to transact online by 2030. That stat has been revised to 40% by 2025. And of course, for every 100 basis points of movement to online sales, we see about 46 million square foot of industrial needs. So we can kind of see that there's definitely going to be continued demand. We've also seen and heard about the greater market share that's been taken up by groups like Target and Walmart and Costco, as customers have looked for an alternative to Amazon due to shipping delays and things of that nature. And I think what I heard in several sessions was that our speakers all felt that the demand for durable goods is going to be exceptionally strong as we continue out of this next 18 months or so. They also talked a lot about the deals under $20 million, which comprises about 80% of the industrial market, and not something that is often talked about at great length, but that those deals have been bolstered by the PPP and allowed smaller shops, smaller mom and pop businesses to add to their logistics offerings. So we expect that to continue, and I would say other trends in demand, you can see what else is driving it. Trade-offs in terms of tenants wanting to ensure that they have product to sell. So we're going to see an increase in demand, and we have seen an increase in demand as tenants want to make sure that their desire to keep their warehouse operation efficient isn't outweighing their ability to actually generate revenue. We expect reverse logistics to continue to become a bigger part of the conversation with that e-commerce growth. 30% of all online sales end up being returned. So reverse logistics is really something that's going to be dealt with and have to be dealt with in the next phase of our business. And there's still a lot of opportunity. A lot of our speakers talked about the opportunity around the East and West Coasts. but also areas like Salt Lake and Denver that are servicing those markets on the West Coast, and population centers like Charlotte and Phoenix. A shift to, or a shift in rather, what is considered a tier 2 market is expected by some of the panelists. And I think we've all seen a little bit of that in terms of industrial tenants wanting to be closer to their customers and closer to those population centers. As the population spreads out to the suburbs, we might see those markets, those tier 1 markets expand or change. But overall, there's been no sharp increase to distressed asset sales, no sharp increase in cap rates. And, as you heard at the beginning of the conference, Spencer Levy expects this to be really a V-shaped curve. So, obviously the first 30 to 60 days was a little tenuous as we all sort of figured out what the world was shifting to. But we, in tier 1 markets, it sounds like pricing has returned to pre-COVID levels. And, there is an expected acceleration through the end of this year and throughout next year. So with that, I would just want to tell you that other topics covered and things that you should definitely look for on the blog are the trends in building, the trend towards taller buildings with greater power requirements, more on-site queuing. There was a lot of great discussion and blog content around the debt availability, which is expected to really buoy back and increase through July and August with supply. There's a little bit of a discussion around the thing that a lot of us want to understand better, cold storage. And there's a great blog post on that as well that I would encourage you to read and take a look at and really understand the complexity of that particular product type. And just in closing, I would be remiss as the Vice Chair of Education if I didn't remind you all that NAIOP has made available all of our courses, in addition to this great blog content from our conference here at I.CON. We've made available the courses, which are normally $795 a piece, free to our members until August 1st. And so if you have a development associate in your shop, or if you have some gaps in your own knowledge in terms of the physical environment of buildings, or potentially other facets, check out those courses. It's more than worth signing up one of your junior associates for a DL membership to take advantage of that and really use whatever downtime you may have to really add knowledge to your platform. So with that, I would just want to commend the NAIOP staff for this incredible pivot to a virtual platform. I love technology, and I was a big fan of the idea of going virtual, so we didn't miss this opportunity to connect with each other. But I couldn't have foreseen how wonderful the content would continue to be, how meaningful the roundtables were, and how amazingly fast they blogged about it so that we could catch up on anything that we missed almost in real time. So with that, I'd just turn it back over to you, Tom, and thank you both for putting on such a great conference for us all.
Well, thank you, Kate, and that officially brings us to our end. I appreciate everyone participating. I commend all the speakers, and I appreciate their time. And with that, I wish everyone a safe and prosperous future.